I have several interests in this particular issue. As a bit of background, I've been no friend of the lottery from its day when it came on the scene. When the second constitutional amendment was passed associated with the lottery, I stood up on the floor of the House and said, I find it interesting that this implementing legislation reduces the appropriation to primary and secondary education out of our tax-supported funds by the exact same amount that the projected lottery revenues are going to be for the remaining period of this year. That drew some uncomfortable squirms in people's seats, which actually is precisely what is being proposed here in the matter that's before us. One of the worst ideas that I can think of for trying to regenerate our economy is to encourage our people to invest in things that will hold them back going forward in terms of getting their workforce skills improved or other more wise investments for the future. The proposal that we have in front of us to raise its estimated $933 million in this next budget cycle from this rather unsecure revenue source also lowers the tax appropriation in the foundation aid by a like amount. That's the proposal. So there's not a dime in this for the schools of our state, even though the Constitution requires. So that's one of the, I guess, points that will probably be litigated with some interest if this goes forward. And my goal is to find better solutions in the budget making process. The legislative leaders of our state in the legislature asked the governor for a reduced spending plan to look at for balancing this budget, the $3.2 billion gap that was identified in this month. Instead, we get a revenue increasing proposal, and I think one that will be damaging to our state if we enact it. So I'm not a friend of it, and I think we need to stand up and say this is not a part of the package that should be incorporated in our plan going forward.
Do you think it'll remain in the plan? I mean, at this point in the conference committee?
Well, I think there's a pretty good chance, unless a good deal of opposition starts to surface, that it could remain in the plan. I also think it increases the risk that we don't have a plan, because there will be opposition, and there will be members of the General Assembly, such as myself, who couldn't vote for the budget in any case with this, as it's a poison pill for my vote, as an example. And I think there will be others that will be in the same category. So that's a problem.
Ron, would you
frustrations that I certainly feel, it's not widely understood that because of all the talk of cuts in the budget, that really 85% of our budget this year has been exempted from reductions. And in fact, we're on track for a 9.5% increase in spending after all these cuts at the end of the day this year. That's in contrast to a decline in our tax revenues that will be approximately 11% under the latest revisions, lower than last year's revenues, over $2 billion less money. So we have this gap that is not been fixed. And common sense suggests that we focus on that much sooner than we are now. We're at a point now where we're going to drain our budget reserves and employ a variety of other creative and some illegal cash management tactics to get us through this year, and that compounds next year's problem. We need to get focused on that problem in a way that brings that gap together. Obviously, raising revenue is one of the approaches. So it's legitimate from that perspective. It's illegitimate in terms of its damage to our state's culture.
In the various email campaigns that have been going on, the phone calls that your office has been getting and so on, have you heard people who have been complaining about the budget cuts lobbying you to approve slots to help this?
There's a wide range of interaction out there. I have a few citizens that have told me years ago that they think we should do this. And I have a large volume who think it's a very bad idea and would be logically those that have kept this from passing on the ballot 4 times.
Are you personally opposed to gambling? I mean, do you ever play the lottery or?
I think it's a poor use of funds, and I have never purchased a lottery ticket.
I did. I bought one for my dad one time.
Did you win?
No.
I bought a lot of them.
My principal objection to the gambling is its diversion of our attention and our limited resources in this state. And it's particularly egregious when the state itself is encouraging it.